All right, tonight, more incontrovertible evidence that deep state actors are doing everything within their power to damage, unseat a duly elected president, that being President Trump. And what's worse is that the partisan press is cheering them on, and they are using this leak to bludgeon the president politically. And not surprisingly, members of the deep state, they ran to their favorite liberal media outlet, the Washington Post, with their latest targeted leak meant to smear the president. Here's the Post headline. Trump, national security advisors warned him, do not congratulate Vladimir Putin. And he did it anyway. Well, it turns out that the Washington Post reporting contains a bunch of fake news. Shocking. Fox News is reporting that a senior administration official is saying that it is likely that President Trump never saw the memo that contained the warning about Putin because he was briefed about his conversation with the Russian president over the phone. But just like always, getting the facts right doesn't matter to the destroyed Trump media. They cranked up their phony, feigned outrage machine. Let's take a look at that.
It's not just what President Trump said during that phone call with Vladimir Putin. It is also what he did not say that has some in his own party angry this morning.
This would be like J. Edgar Hoover, as the director of the FBI, calling Al Capone to congratulate him on a bank robbery.
Is it going too far to say that the White House is failing America on the world stage?
President Trump went out of his way to praise Putin and not bring up extraordinarily important and controversial topics.
It's just the latest in what is obviously a long pattern of behavior by this president.
The president often congratulates leaders who are not democratically elected. He often gives autocratic and dictators congratulations.
Donald Trump, not the first president to make a mistake about Vladimir Putin. The other ones changed their course. We'll see if he ever can.
Another deep state actor, former CIA director John Brennan, he is continuing his baseless attacks on President Trump. Now, take a look how Brennan floats this conspiracy theory. Take a look.
I think he's afraid of the president of Russia.
Why?
Well, I think one can speculate as to why. That the Russians may have something on him personally that they could always roll out and make his life more difficult. Clearly, I think it's important for us to be able to improve relations with Russia. But the fact that he has had this fawning attitude toward Mr. Putin has not said anything negative about him. I think continues to say to me that he does have something to fear.
All right. Isn't John Brennan the guy? Let's see. He voted for a communist for president of the United States back in the 70s. He's supposed to be nonpartisan. By the way, how did he ever become the CIA director? Now, in reality, he's nothing more than an Obama deep state stooge. And Brennan also recently tweeted out this threat to President Trump. When the full extent of your venality and moral turpitude and political corruption becomes known, you will take your rightful place as a disgraced demagogue in the dustbin of history. So you may scapegoat Andy McCabe, but you will not destroy America. America will triumph over you. Andy McCabe got fired because the FBI recommended he be fired, that the Inspector General report recommended the same. It wasn't Donald Trump. And that's the type of comment that now shows why a whopping 74% of you, the American people, are now saying that you think this group of unelected bureaucrats, deep state operatives, are secretly trying to manipulate policy and opinion in this country. So it's more apparent than ever that people like Brennan and Clapper and the rest of them, they're not even trying to hide their abuse and their bias against President Trump. They want him out of office regardless of what he does or doesn't do. Now, President Trump, like he always does, he's fighting back. He tweeted out, quote, I called President Putin of Russia to congratulate him on his election victory. Oh, in the past, Obama called him also, and the fake news media is crazed because they wanted me to excoriate him. They are wrong. Getting along with Russia and others is a good thing, not a bad thing. And he continues, they can help solve problems with North Korea, Syria, Ukraine, ISIS, Iran, and even the coming arms race. Now, Bush tried to get along. He didn't have the smarts. Obama and Clinton, they tried, but they didn't have the energy or chemistry. Remember the reset? And then he ends with Ronald Reagan's phrase, peace through strength. Now, the media's number one objective is to take down this president. We point it out every night. And we know that the deep state knows this. They're trying to exploit this. They're trying to indoctrinate the American people. Remember, at the beginning of this administration, remember 125 deep state leaks in only 126 days? The goal here is obvious, but the media is never going to tell you that. Now, just like they're not going to tell you that back in 2012, interesting, President Barack Obama, he did the same thing, congratulating Putin, that now the media is excoriating President Trump for. You cannot make this stuff up. That is how hypocritical the media, the left wing in this country are. Take a look at this Obama White House press release. It reads in part, quote, President Obama called Russian President-elect and Prime Minister Putin to congratulate him on his recent victory in the Russian presidential election. That's the same thing that Trump did. Where's the outrage? Where's the media condemnation? This is all one big, massive, hypocritical double standard that's on display, and sadly, we see it every day. And the media is whipping themselves into a frenzy, acting like this is a major, massive national security crisis. It's not. And by the way, since the media won't tell you about the facts as it relates to President Obama on Russia, we'll give them to you. Remember Obama and Hillary Clinton's this embarrassing, idiotic, so-called Russian reset. There she is, presenting it to her counterpart. By the way, it was a photo op, and a bad one at that, and it accomplished nothing. Then, of course, you had Obama on the hot mic whispering to Dmitry Medvedev. He said, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election, more flexibility after. We'll show you the tape.
This is my last election for you. Yeah, after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah. I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir.
I transmit to Vladimir. Oh, how'd that work out for Obama? Now, in 2014, as a history lesson, Congressman Devin Nunes of the House Intel Committee, he issued an explicit warning to President Obama. The Russians are coming and want to influence our elections, and that Putin wants to create chaos in the United States and around the world. So what did Obama do? Absolutely nothing. Instead of keeping an eye on Russia, Obama mocked then candidate Trump in 2016, saying it's ridiculous to think that anyone could rig an election. No serious person would ever say that or believe that. And then he said, stop whining. Remember this.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections, in part because they're so decentralized and the numbers of votes involved. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
You know what? It doesn't get any more pompous or arrogant than that. And according to a new book, Obama's own national security advisor, Susan Rice, remember she issued the stand-down order to national security officials that were coming up with options because they wanted to counter Russia's attempt at election interference? Well, that's just the simple truth. Obama was warned in 2014 and did nothing, said it could never happen. Stop whining. The media's not going to report that. They'd rather attack President Trump for something that Obama had already done. He's responsible for 2016, not President Trump. And by the way, who paid for that dossier? That was Hillary. Now, you're being lied to, and this is the sad part, on a daily basis by the Destroy Trump media and those in the deep state. This is on a scale and a level we have never seen in the history of this country. Now, also tonight, constitutional Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. He's agreeing with President Trump that the special counsel should never have been appointed. He couldn't be more right. Let's take a look.
First of all, the president's 100% right. There never should have been the appointment of a special counsel here. There was no probable cause at that point to believe that crimes had been committed. I've seen no evidence to suggest that crimes have been committed by the president. As I said from day one, there should have been a special investigative commission, nonpartisan, appointed by Congress with subpoena power to look into the role of Russia in trying to influence American elections and to try to do something about preventing it in the future. Instead of starting out with finger-pointing and trying to criminalize political differences behind the closed doors of a grand jury, that's gotten us nowhere. The president's absolutely right. This investigation never should have begun.
Now, we'll be speaking with Alan Dershowitz in just a few minutes. Now, in addition to those comments, well, Professor Dershowitz is also out with a brand new op-ed where he writes in part, in this case, the appointment of a special counsel has done more harm than good. It has politicized our justice system beyond repair. And then Dershowitz adds, the public has lost faith in the leadership of the Justice Department and the FBI. They do not trust congressional investigative committees. They don't know whom to believe when they hear conflicting accounts. And there are leaks galore, followed by denials of leaks. It's a total mess. And what do we have to show for it? Just a handful of low-level indictments based largely on alleged crimes that are either totally unrelated or only marginally related to Russia's attempt to influence the presidential election in 2016. The professor's 100% right. Now, Mueller is way beyond his mandate. This is what we call investigative creep. The entire investigation, remember, it was supposed to be about Trump, Russia, collusion. It doesn't exist, and it's now turned into a witch hunt. Now, what does Professor Dershowitz get for telling the truth about the special counsel? The answer is, of course, to be attacked by fake news CNN. Let's take a look.
As soon as I saw that tweet this morning from the president quoting Alan Dershowitz, I said to myself, I wonder if the president is going to invite Alan Dershowitz to join his legal team at any point.
Happen. It's kind of amazing that he hasn't already.
Maybe he has. Maybe Alan Dershowitz declined.
Maybe.
We'll ask him.
But Dershowitz comes in at the end of some big high-profile situations.
Knowing Alan Dershowitz, knowing the president of the United States,
the closer.
I suspect
right.
he may be joining the legal team at some point. We'll soon find out.
Great commentary from a guy named Wolf. That's what happens when you dare to offer a dissenting opinion that goes against the destroy Trump media's Trump, Russia, collusion, conspiracy theory, and no evidence, and it's been 14, 16 months. Also, brand new tonight, a group of congressmen, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Andy Biggs, they are demanding that the report that led to the disgraced former FBI director, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and his firing be made public. Now, the congressmen want you, the American people, they want to be transparent. They want you to know the specific reasons for why McCabe was shown the door, because they're arguing, rightly so, that what he did could have put this country in danger. Now, late, you remember, on Friday night, McCabe was fired at 9:59, just before I went off the air. Why? For lying to investigators and leaking to the media and lying under oath. Even though the evidence is abundantly clear why McCabe was fired, the media, they somehow tried to blame it on President Trump. He had nothing to do with it. And the FBI director, Chris Wray, he's now shooting down all of these liberal media lies. Let's take a look at what he's saying about McCabe's firing.
I want to be careful about what I can say about the process, but I will tell you that my commitment to making sure that our process is followed, that it relies on objective input, and that most importantly, it is not based on political or partisan influence, is something I am utterly unyielding on.